Hello and welcome back to episode 3 of Fogdog and Basten. Sorry again for the delay since the last episode. We've had a pretty hectic couple of weeks. Very, very exciting episode today. We have our first guest on the show. We both know him pretty well, Jack Anstey, out of Australia and more recently, Illinois State University. How you feeling for the podcast, Basten? Looking forward to it?
I'm feeling good. Yeah, we have a lot of stuff to catch up on about us as individuals since the last video, and it'll be really nice to hear a new perspective. Jack Anstey recently signed pro, which will be awesome.
Yeah, just signed a professional contract for Under Armour. He's running with Dark Sky Distance down in Flagstaff, Arizona. He's run 339 for 1500, 358 for the mile, and more recently, back in probably February, March, during the indoor season, 755 for the 3K. So very accomplished runner. He's now turned professional with Under Armour. So can't wait to have a chat to him. Before we get to that, Basten, big day tomorrow, season opener at Iowa State in the mile for you. You're currently a 412 miler. You're a 339, 1500 runner though. How you feeling? What's the goal?
Well, I think those times are pretty equivalent, honestly.
Yeah.
If you just add 55 seconds, it makes perfect sense. No. So going in as a 412 miler, I think it's guaranteed that I'm going to PB, at least if I don't, something drastic happened. But really, we're kind of going into this one with a lot of things going through your head as usual, since it's the first meet. It's a rust buster in that haven't raced since cross and haven't had a track race since outdoor nationals. So yeah, it's a rust buster in a way, but then it's also just like indoor is such a rough time because you're really like only 16 guys make nationals. So every time you get on the track, you're thinking, all right, this is one chance where I have to get a qualifying time.
Yeah.
And
it
so
really is.
I've never broken 4 in the mile before, but a goal heading in is to do that because that would be awesome. But then really just get a top 16 time, which in a year where everyone is so freaking fast, I'm probably going to have to run 57 high, 58 low.
I would say probably
crazy.
It wouldn't surprise me if it took 357 high this year. It would not surprise me, which is absolutely mad for 16 guys in the country to be running 357 high. Who knows? It could end up being 358 mid. Last year I got lucky around 359.03. And it got me into nationals, obviously then ran a little bit quicker. But a pretty kind of sentimental thing potentially tomorrow, as the guest we're having on, Jack Anstey, his first sub 4 minute mile came in 2019 at Iowa State University at, I believe, the Iowa State Classic in February 2019. Me, my first sub 4 mile around 359.03 in February of 2021. At the Iowa State Classic, same track as Jack and Basten. We're heading to Iowa State University tomorrow. So can we go 3 for 3?
This is one of my chances.
Yeah,
I'm really excited. Also, Foggy will be pacing me. And we have 2 guys from Under Armour who are coming and racing. One of them is Casey Comer, who I have raced one time before. I got his number at Outdoor Nationals.
Nice.
I'm sure he sees my name there and is looking for revenge.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. Casey's a guy who's broken 358 himself, and he's a guy that really, when he's racing his best, is really, really challenging to beat. Yeah. So going to have it all cut out for me out there, but I'm hoping that I can get it done. We'll see. I
think it should work out pretty nicely because as you mentioned, Casey Comer from Under Armour is running. I was actually speaking to him just yesterday, and he was saying that his teammate, Willie Fink, another Under Armour pro, is planning on pacing. I'm planning on pacing as well. So I think hopefully the way it'll work out is Willie Fink, he'll take it out. He'll be at the front, hopefully running, pretty quick, especially given the kind of training I've been doing recently. I'll tuck in behind him. I'll go as far as I can. If that means 800, it means 800. If it means a mile, I run the full thing. But it should work out pretty nicely. And I think it's a great chance for yourself to try and dip under that 4 minute barrier.
We should probably catch people up on what's been going on since cross country nationals, in which we both discovered that we have an excuse as to why we sucked.
Yep.
So
we do.
Fog. Tell me
Yeah.
what happened.
So, yeah, it's been a grim couple of weeks. It's been a very, very grim couple of weeks. For anyone who saw my video on the Fogdog exclusive, I believe it came out Sunday a week ago, probably December the 5th. Yeah, I think December the 5th it came out. I did 6 by K, and that was my first workout back. In that video, I explained that I've been pretty ill recently. So has Basten. I got knocked around pretty badly. The doctors think I had pneumonia. I also got an ear infection, not ideal. I was on antibiotics for 5 days, and I'm back working out now. Obviously, I'm pacing tomorrow, but I missed quite a few days there. I had a full week off and some more. And I'm pretty good now, but I'm still feeling pretty kind of tired, I would say. So tomorrow will be a real test. What about you? You had a pretty similar kind of story. Are you a bit ill at nationals and after?
Yeah, I think my illness was, everything was a week ahead of you. I was sick the week before nationals. And so like when I raced at nationals, I was like starting to turn the corner on it.
Yeah.
And so when I came back, my training had been really bad prior to nationals. I was dropping out of the easiest workouts in the world. When I got back from nationals, kind of had a couple days like just off, and then I could kind of just come back and train normally. And that's kind of when Fog experienced the worst of his illness.
It was pretty nasty.
Man, you get an ear infection like every other week.
So I've had 2 in 2021. That's harsh. But I've never really had them before, and then 2 in 2021. Yeah, not ideal, but
Did you have any before that too?
I don't know. Not that I can remember. I think maybe when I was really young, I had something to do with my ears not going perfectly well, but we're on the mend. So looking forward to tomorrow.
He's healthy now, just in time.
And tomorrow obviously is season opener for Basten. I'm going to be pacing, probably not finishing, and hopefully doing a little bit of a workout. And then we have quite a few weeks before we race again. So I'm actually flying back to England on Tuesday. It's Friday right now. So obviously the race is then tomorrow, Saturday. I fly back on Tuesday. We got some final exams next week, and then you're heading home for Christmas break.
Yeah, now's kind of the time where we chill for a little bit.
Yeah.
Get to spend some family time. I mean, we're obviously still running quite a bit, but
yeah,
we're after this race, I'm kind of peaking for this. Foggy's just being the great friend he is and pacing me this one last time. And then we're both kind of just going to re-enter the base phase for a little bit. We'll still be working out, but it's not quite as hard. Just kind of like tuning up the legs and getting ready to peak again in a couple months from now. So
yeah, perfect. So we come back in January, and then we'll be on to the proper indoor season. And I think honestly that pretty much wraps up what we're going to talk about before we get into our chat with Jack.
Yeah.
Can't wait to talk to him. Obviously he's from down under in Australia where I grew up. Really looking forward to hearing a bit about kind of his collegiate story, and now he's turned pro. I think all of the viewers and listeners out there will kind of learn a few things about the transition from college life, or even pre-college life, growing up in Australia, college life, and then the transition to running professionally.
Yeah. So stay tuned to hear from our friend and old rival, Jack Anstey. And now, special first guest of the Fogdog and Basten, this Fogdog and Basten podcast, we're going to cut in Jack Anstey, who's an All-American, 7th place in the 2019 1500. He's ran 3:39 in the 1500, 3:58 in the mile, and 7:55 in the 3K. Just signed as an Under Armour Pro. Welcome, Jack.
All right. Thanks for having me, lads. I appreciate you having me on.
So to get us rolling here, do you want to kind of straight away take us through a bit of kind of what's been going on in your life recently? Obviously, you've signed a professional contract for Under Armour. You graduated from Illinois State University a few months ago now. Kind of what's been going on in your life from graduation up to this point of becoming a professional runner?
It's been a wild, 6 months, since finishing up in college. I think, there's a lot to tell, but I'm super stoked with my situation right now. Just moved to Flagstaff, been here about 4 weeks, going on 5 weeks now. So I'm starting to get used to the elevation and stuff. That was definitely an adjustment, but yeah, no, I'm super grateful to be in the position I'm in. Just signed with Under Armour, working with Dark Sky Distance up here in Flagstaff. And yeah, it's just a really good situation. But I mean, in terms of, I guess the transition from college to the professional life, it was definitely a rocky road, and I'm pretty lucky to be in the spot I'm in right now, because it certainly didn't look like it was on the cards for a little bit. But yeah, so essentially, funnily enough, you guys were in my last collegiate race ever. That's ironic, but yeah, I think so. Looking at like the 2021 season as a whole, I think there's a few different perspectives I have. I think overall, I mean, it was a good year in terms of like I ran PBs in just about every event except the 800, I think. So I think ran like 339, 358 a few times, and then I think was just competing at a good level. And then such as championship racing, I just couldn't get it done at regionals, and I thought that my prospects of running professionally were slim. And then yeah, I guess like after NCAAs, it's a funny thing. I mean, I think, I guess this is an extreme example, but I feel like it's similar to like an Olympic cycle where you're in college for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And you're kind of just going through the motions, like you're in your routines and stuff. And then all of a sudden, like you're out and you're on your own, and you're kind of trying to work out like what's next and soul searching whether you want to keep doing it and stuff. And I guess through the months of like June, July, August, that was certainly how a lot of my time was spent. And I guess to tell you the short story of it, basically I had decided that I was going to move back to Australia. I don't know if you mentioned that. I'm from Australia. I'm from near where Foggy's from, in Queensland. And so, yeah, I think I made the decision to go home. I booked a ticket, had a ticket booked. And I don't know if you know this. I don't know if either of you guys know this. But,
I think I do.
Yeah. So basically I had a ticket booked. I can't remember the exact date. I think it was September 6th, or around about then. And I think early on in September, like September 1st, September 2nd, I contracted COVID.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So I got COVID. Luckily, it didn't knock me around too hard, but obviously couldn't travel. And so I had to rebook my ticket back to Australia. The plan was still to go home at that point. I just had to rebook it. And the way things were at Australia at that point, it was pretty difficult to get a hold of a ticket because they had caps on travel coming into the country. And I'm sure you've dealt with that stuff, Adam. Yeah. So basically I booked another ticket, but it was for 7 weeks down the road. So I had to stay in the US for another 7 weeks. And yeah, so early on in that 7 weeks, it was just about like, I guess getting back to a decent standard of running after having COVID and being careful with that. And just like, in my mind, I was like, okay, just going to like, I'm going home. I'm going to just enjoy being in the US for the next, month or two, and enjoy, my friends, having them around for a little longer. And then, I'll go home and it'll be all good. And then, 5-6 weeks goes by, and I get a text message from my now agent and coach, Stephen Haas. And he said like, hey, we're interested, and like, we want to talk to you about Under Armour and Dark Sky. And long story short, I basically flew out there that week. Probably only like 3 or 4 days later, met everyone on the team. Haas and I had never met. So like just getting to know him and what he's like as a coach and an agent, and talking about what this would potentially look like. Yeah, I mean, from the moment I got out here, I tried to play cool and like I was playing hard to get and stuff. But mate, as soon as I got out here, I was like, yeah, this is a done deal. Like I don't care what you're paying me. I don't care like anything. Like I'm out here. Like I'm gonna make this work. So, nice. Yeah, essentially went back to Illinois 3 or 4 days later, bought a car, made the 20-hour drive to Flagstaff, and haven't looked back. So it's been a pretty cool journey.
That is pretty sick. And I think it's kind of an example of one of probably the very few times where getting Corona has actually been probably one of the luckiest things that could have happened. Because, I mean, obviously you could have still got the message from your coach, Stephen Haas. Yeah. It could have still happened. But, I mean, if you were on that plane on whenever it was, September the 6th, it's more than likely you'd now be in Australia, potentially still trying to run. But obviously, as you and I know, the professional scene down under is not what it's like here. So
yeah, no, it's crazy to think about all the things that kind of had to fall into place for this to happen. But like I said, I'm super grateful, and it's pretty mind blowing, but stoked to be here. Wow. So
you finished NCAA outdoor, and you had like a 3 or 4 month period where you thought your racing career, at least professionally, was kind of over, or you were going to go back home. So what was the plan if you would have went back home? Were you planning on like racing there and trying to sign a contract perhaps in Australia?
I think so. I wanted to keep running. Like I'm pretty late to the sport. Like I only started when I was like 16 years old, and you probably know that, Adam. Like I was never on the scene kind of when we were in high school or anything like that. Maybe for like my last like year
or two,
but I picked it up pretty late. And so like, I kind of feel like I still have like a bit of developing to do. So I wanted to keep running. I think it was just going to be in a different capacity in that I probably would have had a bit more of a balanced lifestyle back in Australia. Like I would have had another year of school back in Australia that I was going to get my education degree. So I got my kinesiology degree over here in the US, and I was going to get a teaching degree as well. So I was going to do that. I was going to run. I was going to probably work as well. And I guess it would just be a bit more balanced. Similar, I guess, like Adam, like that's what most people do in Australia is like, it's a lot more of a balanced lifestyle. And I think that isn't necessarily what I wanted. Obviously I wanted to turn professional and I wanted to give this a go, but I think it was a combination of like, I haven't, like I've spent, the best part of 5 years away from my family. I've spent like the last like 2.5 years, like completely away. I haven't been to Australia since 2019. Wow. So I think a lot of it was just like, okay, like let's like just kind of recalibrate and like try to like have less of an emphasis on running, but like we'll still keep going with it and see where it takes me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That is really good. It's definitely great because obviously in Australia, so many people are great runners and could potentially, take the next step and run professionally, but there's just not the scene for it. On Australia, are you able to get home for Christmas, or are you staying out in Flagstaff?
I'm actually going to go back to Illinois for Christmas. We have like a 10-day break, and I think just like it's just not worth it. I'm going to be going home in March for Australian Championships, and I'll probably spend like 4 to 6 weeks at home, like just seeing family and like getting my visa stuff sorted. So I'll be home before too long.
That'll be good.
Yeah, well, let's take a step back here and let's talk about how you got to America in the first place. So how old were you when you came over, and what was that whole process like?
How old was I when I came over? I was, I believe 18 when I came over, maybe 18. And so, I came over, I think the same sort of situation as you, Adam. I came over in the spring semester, so in January. Yeah. And you did a lot better at adjusting than I did, because I remember I'd never seen snow before. I remember coming from Australia where it was, ridiculous, summer heat, just like very hot.
Don't have winter.
Coming over.
Yeah.
What's that?
Winter in Australia, at least in Queensland, is really not a thing. I mean, obviously it gets a little bit cold, but like when you get here, you realize what a proper winter is. And no, I definitely underestimated it big time. So I had a decent year that year, but I was I was just getting sick every couple of weeks with the winter, and I was coming down with strep and just like colds, and it was just super hard to like
stay consistent and get fit. But so yeah, I guess working backwards though, like, yeah, I went to Illinois State. Like I said earlier, like I started running pretty late, only when I was like 16 or 15, 16. And so when I made the decision that I wanted to come to the US, like I was pretty underdeveloped as an athlete. Like I'd had a bit of success, but I didn't feel like going to a massive program like I don't know, Oregon or something like that was going to be the best move for me. And so, not that at that point that was even on the table anyway, but like I didn't think that going to a massive program was going to be like the smartest thing I could do. So, I talked to a few coaches, and Coach Bobby from ISU just seemed like a good fit. It seemed like they were going to take care of me, which they did. And yeah, I signed and was over in January. And no, I loved ISU. I mean, small program, definitely not renowned for distance running prowess, but they've had some successful athletes come through. Like Aisha Portlier has been through ISU, and we've had some All-Americans in the distance events, and I just felt like it was a good fit for me at the time, and it was going to allow me to kind of develop, which I needed time to develop. I needed a few years to kind of hit my straps, and just like the people on the team were fantastic, very accommodating, and it was just a real family atmosphere. And I think that's important for me. I'm someone who needs like a good environment to be happy in and train well in. So it was a good fit.
No, definitely. In terms of going over, obviously you kind of mentioned you got a little bit sick and maybe struggled in terms of, I guess, things like the weather. Potentially, what was kind of one of the biggest things in terms of running that you found was pretty different to what you were doing at home? For me, it's kind of like the mileage. I was always pretty low mileage, and I found that in Australia, everyone's very kind of speed focused. Did you find that as well? You kind of came over underdeveloped, as you said, maybe with a bit more of a speed background, and then you get thrown into, running up to, I don't know, maybe 80-ish miles a week, maybe even more over the winter 4 months. What did you find was a big difference?
Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest things. Like with mileage, I think up until that point, I was pretty much like, I dipped my toes in the water with the 1500, but I was primarily running the 800 at that point. And so, like my training looked completely different in Australia to how it looked when I first came to the US. And, when I got to the US, my coach basically pulled me into his office and he said, "You're not an 800 meter runner. I'll tell you that right now." And, as a young freshman, I'm thinking like, this guy's got no idea what he's talking about. But then I realized that I'm 120 pounds and probably don't have the power to run 144 or 143. So I guess he was right with that one, and it ended up working out pretty well. But so I guess with him telling me that, and like, he's like, "You're going to be a 1500 guy." The training looked immensely different, like volume was different. We were, it was just, so that, you're right. That's a big adjustment. The other thing, and it sounds pretty obvious, but just like never running an indoor race before, like that was like getting to the US and a week later, like, okay, you're running an indoor race on a 200 meter flat track. I'm like, not for me, but
horrible.
I can really relate to you there on the thinking you're an 800 runner, coach coming and saying, "No, you're not that." I came here thinking I was like 800, 1500, and my coach is like, "No, you're a 5K guy."
Yeah, Jay's always on that.
Looked at me. He still thinks I'm a 5K guy. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
I think he might be a 15 guy now. Wow. I don't know. We'll see how tomorrow goes.
Yeah, I think hopefully by this point I've proved him a little bit wrong, but
I think
we'll
so.
See.
I think
I don't know. You ran pretty well in cross. That might not do you any favors.
I know. Might have to like purposely start doing bad in the longer.
Yeah, you will. Never run well in cross again. But no, that is so true. Like Jay, the whole time has said, "I'm a 5K guy," which I kind of can see.
I think you might be.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I do have to agree. Now, when I first came over, 1500 through and through, and Basten. 800. I mean, you'd run a filthy 400 if you had to.
Yeah,
but
I'm also 130 pounds.
Yeah.
Same deal.
Give Jay a say and he'll have you running the 10K.
Yeah. Seriously. But so quick question. You came here, was it 2017, 2018? Did you come over?
2017, beginning of 2017.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from 2017, you came over. Your first time qualifying for nationals is 2019, correct?
Yeah.
2019 indoor, or was that outdoor?
That was outdoor.
So was that when you made your biggest jump? And then like, what was that transition like? Was it like you finally got used to the mileage? You finally used to like just being in America in general, or like, did something click for you in particular, or like what went down there?
Yeah, I think for me, like knock on wood, I've been very lucky to stay healthy for like a long period of time. I've never had like a serious injury. So I think that helps in terms of developing like long-term, right? So, I think 2019 was the year that everything clicked, but like up until that point, there were just little breakthroughs along the way that kind of made everything in 2019 like seem not so impossible, if you know what I mean. So like if you go and look at like my PRs or my season bests every year, like it's been a pretty consistent like taking chunks off of PRs every year as opposed to one massive breakthrough. So I think like coming over here, I ran like 348. My first year I ran 346. I then ran 343, and then like ran 340 in 2019. And so like that's a pretty linear progression. And then this year ran 339. So it's been a pretty consistent build. And then so 2019 was just the year that I guess I wouldn't even say everything clicked. I just got to the level where I knew I could be at, broke 4 minutes in a mile that indoor season, made it through the rounds at regionals, and then made the final at NCAAs and kicked to a 7th place. And I just feel like that was kind of the culmination of not just a big year that year, but just kind of just building consistently up until that point.
Yeah, definitely. And on the topic of kind of breaking the 4-minute mile barrier, so that year, obviously, I think it was in February, Iowa State Classic, at Iowa State, where we're heading tomorrow. Basten, season opener, me on pacing duties.
How far are you going? You're out of curiosity.
As far as I can. And I've been sick recently. I haven't done a lot of kind of mile pace stuff. If I get to a K, I'll be pretty happy. I'll go as far as I can. If I'm feeling good at a K, I'll go 12. If I feel good there, I'll go. Well, I'll try and go as far as I can. If that's 800, it's 800. If it's the mile, then it's the mile. So who knows?
We'll find out.
Yeah. But kind of what was that like going in? Obviously, you broke 4, school record. No one at Illinois State had broken 4 before.
We actually had the 2002 mile NCAA champ Christian Kawhi, so he'd broken 4 a few times, but yeah.
Wow.
So,
was it a school record then, or?
No, I missed out. So this year when we raced at Iowa State and I ran 358, that would have been school record, but I was unattached, obviously.
Unattached.
So,
wow.
He ran 359 low when he won NCAAs.
Wow. Okay.
Someone didn't do his research.
Yeah. Oh, I just assumed it had to be. I mean, wow. Okay. Anyway. No,
it's a very random stat that someone buys.
All right. Here's my research. When you first broke 4, you ran 359.66. There you go.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I didn't even have to look that up. The number just sticks in my head. No, I wasn't there. I was still in Australia then. Yeah. But anyway, how far off qualifying for indoor nationals were you then? And did that kind of, obviously you kind of talked about your progression, and that you just kind of progressed pretty consistently, but did breaking 4 really kind of in your mind give you the confidence that you just miss out indoor, you want to really be making a push for making the national final in the 1500 outdoor? Yeah.
I think I was 2 spots off. I think 359, like 4 or 3 got in that year. So obviously like a little bit frustrating. But so the year before at regionals in 2018, I was the first guy out. which makes this year even tougher because I was second guy out or something. But so I was the first guy out, and then so to miss indoors again by 2 spots or something, like it was frustrating because I felt like I was at that level where, like, similar to you this year when you got 4th, like you ran a pretty similar time to that, right? 350, what did you run? 359.0 or 350?
03, yeah. Oh,
right.
in the race with you, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I think, and so you probably didn't think you were going with that, but it's frustrating because you're at that level, and like you 100%. Proved it. You got 4th.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of getting there, and so like it was a little bit frustrating. But I think something I've always been pretty good at is just being patient. Like I think once you get to that level, it's only a matter of time until like it clicks on the day and you get in, and thankfully it clicked. At outdoor regionals, I got enough time, embarrassingly enough, but I think I ran like 3:41 that day and got in fairly comfortably, and so like that was just a huge relief to get in there. And then I don't know, at nationals, I like you guys can probably speak to this, like especially Isaac, like you're probably just like stoked to be there, and then you make the final and you're like, shit, like I can, like I'm on here, and then it's a pretty surreal feeling. And then I guess the rest is history.
Yeah, it kind of just feels like it's a bunch of guys that you've looked up to, and that are all like, you're like, oh, this guy's better than me, this guy's better than me. You're looking at the heat sheets and you're like, everybody here is better than me. These are all people that like, and watching the results of that have all beat me, and like you just kind of think, all right, well, I'm just gonna sit in the back and hope that kick my way up, see what happens. Like
that's you. And
I feel like we had the exact same experience. I was literally last at the bell in my prelim NCAAs. Yep. I've got people like Ryan Adams, who's now pro from Mizuno and Atlanta Track Club. Like, who else was there? Waleed was there. He's with Brooks now. George was there, and all these guys. Like, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, no one knows who I am.
That was the year Yard won it, wasn't it? The really close finish. Yeah.
Justin just got nipped at the line. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
That's funny. It seems like well, Jack and I, like at least watching Jack's races, we have a very similar like race strategy. We kind of just rely on our speed in the last like 200 kicks. Like Fog's a little bit different, but
I can't afford to do that. Yeah.
But I mean, you're becoming that slowly. Like every day you're able to rely on your kick more and more and more. So that's definitely something that's fun. But okay, so 2019, you have your huge breakout. 2020, COVID hits. Nothing really happens for any of us. 2021, you make regionals. That regional final was absolutely insane.
God, yeah, you can say that again. There's a pretty cute picture of us 3 on the start line, I think.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. Having a giggle about something.
Yeah, God. Yeah. It's funny how I can't believe that picture, because in the moment, I honestly, I don't know if I've ever been more nervous. And in the moment, in that picture,
I don't even remember, like, if I'm being honest, I don't even remember talking to you guys.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know. Someone's photoshopped that picture or something, but yeah.
I remember why we were laughing, and it was because I was making fun of the fact that I finished 10th place in the Missouri Valley Conference 5K.
Oh, did they announce it?
Yeah, well, they were like, like Missouri Valley Conference champion indoors, and I was like, well, also 10th outdoors. But...
Yeah.
Yeah. They really needed to do you a solid there.
Yeah. No, it's tough. But in terms of COVID, you just mentioned before you haven't been back to Australia since 2019. What was kind of your mindset going through that? Did you know straight away you were going to stay in America the whole time? Were you meant to finish up at college and then you stayed on for the extra year, or what kind of happened?
It was a mess, man. Like, gosh, I feel like everyone has a COVID story, but it was weird because I think so to answer your question, I was meant to have, so we had the indoor season that we essentially got through except for NCAAs. And then I had that outdoor season, and then I had like a fall cross country, which I wasn't even sure at that point. I was probably not going to take it. So it was going to be my last year. But it was strange because that indoor season, like coming off of 2019, I was running well, and but for whatever reason, like that indoor season, like things just didn't click. Like I ran like 3:59, but like I was kind of hoping coming off of 2019 that, you know, I could run a lot faster than that, and like things just didn't click. And I think I was heading into the right direction that outdoor season, but I think it might have been a blessing in disguise that like it just allowed me to get another full year of developing and staying healthy and good training. But no, COVID was a mess. I remember all the Aussies, as COVID hit, they're like, you know, I'm getting out of here. I think you went straight home, didn't you?
Straight home. We were in Boulder on spring break. And
I remember that.
Yeah.
I was like, literally while we were there, we were meant to be there a week. We stayed 3 nights, and I flew home on like the 5th day of our Boulder trip. I flew back to Australia. So
yeah,
mad how it happened.
It's mad. But yeah, so everyone was leaving, and I was like, I mean, at the time I had a girlfriend who we'd been together for like 2 years, and I was like, I just wasn't prepared to like leave and not who knew when we were going to be able to get back and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, just wasn't prepared to leave. And then like I said, like that was meant to be my last semester. So I was like worried with like visa stuff. And like, you know, what if I'm home for a year and my visa runs out, I'm going to have dramas getting back. Mostly like academically, I was like, I'm in my last semester. I don't want to like not get this degree.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I ended up working out. I picked up about 17 minors and got to come back for another year. So
Worked out.
So on to this season, you're running with Dark Sky, like you mentioned before. What are you doing right now? What are you training for? Just what's life right now going like?
Yeah. Well, I guess like this last month has just been like getting adjusted to training at altitude, which I don't want to say it's something I underestimated, but it's a completely different style of training to what I'm used to. I've done stints. I've done one stint at altitude before in flag, but being up here for extended periods of time is really different, and you've got to be really careful with how you train. And so I think this last month has just been about adjusting to that and getting used to not only having like the altitude, but having a new coach, having a new team, having, like new shoes, as silly as that sounds, like I've never ran in Under Armour before. So like, it's just about like getting used to all these new things that have been introduced. And that's kind of where I'm at. And then indoor season, the plan is to run probably like 3 times indoor. The goal is to get the world indoor standard. I'm going to run likely a 3K and then a couple of 1500s. I think the standards are 750 flat and 339 flat. So I feel like that's well within my range. So hopefully pick up one of those. And then I think world indoors is in Serbia. Don't quote me on that.
I think you're right. Belgrade. I think I was actually having a look at that because like the standards seem a lot more achievable than they do outdoor. And I also feel like people are generally less interested in going, especially given that the outdoor world champs are coming up in Eugene. So definitely an achievable one.
And like being it's a huge year with it's like Commonwealth Games, World Champs, and then like being Australian, like the World Indoor Champs back up pretty close to the Australian Championships, which a lot of people will kind of want to, put all their eggs in that basket. So I think, if I can run the standard, like there's a good chance that I'll get a chance to go. And so just trying to put everything in place to try and be ready for that.
Yeah, no, that definitely sounds like a good plan. In terms of Under Armour, obviously you mentioned you've never kind of run in their shoes before. Obviously, great brand, pretty well known now. They've kind of come up pretty well over the last couple of years, I think, especially. They do sponsor a couple of big schools, obviously Wisconsin, I think Notre Dame as well, I think. How have you found that adjustment? What's kind of been your favorite piece of gear to run in, and how's that all been going?
Yeah, no, like I'm so stoked with Under Armour. I mean, I think like when you want to turn professional, like the biggest thing you want is you want a company that is going to invest in their athletes and wants to invest in their athletes. And so like, that was kind of my concern when wanting to turn pro. And like, as soon as I flew out here on my visit, and since I've been in Flag, like living here, it's been so clear that like Under Armour wants to invest in their athletes. Like they've just started a group out in Baltimore, which I think we were talking about just off camera before. They've obviously got Dark Sky, which they've got some world-class athletes like Winnie Colati and like there's so many amazing athletes here. And even since I've been up here, like there's been like shoe tech people that have like flown to Flag from wherever their base is in the US and like, given us like shoe products to try, like prototypes, and like they want feedback from the athletes. So I think that's just like a great example of them wanting to like invest in their athletes, and they value their athletes. And so like, no, I just think it's a super good situation. And I'm very lucky to have a company supporting me that's like willing to go above and beyond, and they want to support me with whatever I want to do. And in terms of the products, I mean, like I've been super impressed with the shoes. I can't say too much, but I've been testing some spikes that are going to be hopefully released early next year. And, they've definitely been on par, if not better, with anything else I've worn before. So I'm super stoked.
Wow. That is huge.
Awesome. So you're going to be testing the new spikes in Boston for the first time in a couple months from now. What kind of what are you in more of a base phase of training right now? What kind of workouts are you doing? What's your mileage like?
It's that's been another adjustment actually. Like I feel like similar to you guys right now. So like Isaac, you're obviously like ripping a mile tomorrow, like trying to go under 4. I feel like at this time of the year, like December, January, February, like in college, like we were ripping all the time. Like, you were like pretty ready to go. And like, that's just not how it is as a pro. Like you've got to be like a lot more careful this time of the year because like the season just goes so much longer than the college season does. Like the NCAA season would be done in June. And then as a pro, like you've got to be able to go all the way through August into September. And so this time of year right now is definitely a base phase. We're starting to touch on a little bit of track work. Obviously, we're going to do an indoor season, so we've got to be ready for that. So we're starting to touch a little bit of speed and stuff. But I'm definitely in base phase right now. I've been like probably averaging like 80 to 85, 90 miles a week up here at elevation, which is certainly different to doing that at sea level. And the workouts have been, a lot of threshold, a lot of hills, fartleks and stuff like that. We just did a fartlek today.
I think I saw that on Strava.
Yeah. So we were actually meant to do hills, but we got a lot of snow overnight. So luckily, we got to go down to a lower elevation where it wasn't snowing or anything. So we just did a fartlek instead. And it's just been a lot of like solid work, nothing like crazy or anything like that. But I feel like if you can put like 2 months of that together, like you're going to be in a good spot. So
yeah, in terms of you kind of touched on it a little bit before, I guess, but in terms of like your actual living situation, have you moved into an apartment, your own apartment? You got housemates who are on the team, or are you with random people? How's that all kind of been for you?
So the first month I was here, another good example of like Under Armour being like super accommodating, I stayed with Matt Yano. I don't know if you know who that is. He's a professional marathoner with Dark Sky. I think he's ran like 2:10, 2:11.
Oh, right. Okay. Wow. Yeah.
So he just took me in. Under Armour paid the rent for a month. They have a super nice place and like we're super accommodating, stayed there for a month. And then last week I just moved into my apartment, which is where I am right now. And I'm living with Casey Knievelbad, if you know who that is. Yeah. He just signed as well. Florida he just State. Ran 13:24 last week in Boston. So
saw that. Yeah.
So he's off to a hot start, and we've been living together for a week now, up to mischief. So
oh yeah, good stuff. Yeah.
So what do you? I think a lot of people are just curious because like not a lot of people get to experience like the life of a professional athlete. Like, what do you do outside of training? Are you just like playing Xbox or like?
Okay, like I was actually talking about this with House the other day, or when I was on my visit, but like I feel like so many people think that like being a pro is just like sitting on your backside all day and like doing nothing. But like I swear to God, I've been busier like in this last month than I've been. Like I worked a full-time job when I was in Illinois, like full-time, like some days I'd work like 8 to 5, and I've been busier like since I've been up here. So like a typical day, like, you know, you're running twice a day on the workout days. Like today, for example, we went down to Camp Verde, which is at like 3,000 feet elevation. Flagstaff is at 7,000 feet. Yeah. So we go down there to do like workouts that are a little bit more like high quality, I guess. But it's an hour drive down there. You're probably there for the best part of 3 hours doing like warm up, cool down session. You can cut that out.
Yeah.
And then you make the drive back up. So if you get down there at 9 o'clock, like you're not getting back up until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, my roommate right now, like we got back, he's at a massage, Casey. That probably takes 90 minutes. You know, you got to lift, you got to double. You gotta like, there's just so many things. Yeah. There's like, and it's just, I think a lot of like 1%ers, like, I don't know, I was always pretty lazy in college with getting like treatment and stuff with the trainers, and like, now like I was really lazy. But like, are you guys lazy with that?
Oh. Unbelievably. Yeah.
I will not get there unless something is hurting.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Me too. I couldn't tell you what our athletic training looked like.
We normatech from time to time. We're all right with that.
Twice a month, maybe.
Yeah. When a race is coming up, we'll get in the boots. But yeah, no, generally more rehab than prehab, unfortunately. Right. We're learning.
Like now that it's my job, I just feel so guilty if I'm not doing stuff. I'm like, if I'm sitting in bed watching Netflix or something, I'm like, I should probably do something. So like, we're lucky enough to have like really good medical staff and like massage therapists who take care of us. So I'm always trying to get in there, because like I've always been really lucky with injuries and stuff, but like God forbid you just sign and then get hurt. So I've been trying to really stay on top of that stuff. And to answer your question, the days are pretty busy.
Yeah. And I bet as well, I mean, you're going to be busy all the time, obviously, by the sounds of things, but especially given your current situation, you know, you've just moved into a new apartment, you've just signed your contract. You a couple months ago thought you were going to be going home to Australia. You've got visa stuff going on. I can understand that you are probably pretty busy. But hopefully things will settle down. You'll settle in and kind of adjust pretty nicely. Getting ready for, you mentioned 3K first up, end of January in Boston.
Yes, I think it's nothing set in stone yet, but I believe a 3K end of January, and then we'll run a couple of 1500s or a 1500 and a mile. Like, it hasn't been sorted out too much yet, but through the month of February. So
very nice.
Hopefully we get on one with you.
Match
for us three. It'd be super fun.
One day.
Yeah. I hear Boston's a short track, so
yeah. Same with that Arkansas one. Yeah. They're all quick.
We'll have to see what we get in our watches.
Yeah. Stop when the watch hits a mile. It's only fair. No, that's cool though. And obviously it would be cool to one day line up together again. Obviously going through the same conference at college level. We've had a few races together, and hopefully one day in the future we'll get to line up together again. Maybe in Serbia. Who knows?
Maybe. No, it's I don't think I've ever mentioned this to you, but I always found it so ironic that like I don't know how to say this without sounding like idiot, but I've always found it so ironic that like we're both from Queensland, and like until you came to the NBC, like it's not the strongest conference. And then I just found it so funny that like you of all people are like always like the most competitive guy that, you know, I was going up against, until Isaac obviously like got really good. So I've always found that very funny.
It is because for any of the people who are watching or listening, me and Jack probably you grew up in Toowoomba, yeah?
I actually grew up in Alice Springs. I mean, you know where that is?
Yeah. What?
No, yeah. No
joking?
wonder I didn't run until I was 16. I grew up in Alice Springs. So
out catching kangaroos, climbing Ayers Rock. Wow.
Yeah,
what's
there?
But
then I was in Toowoomba and when I through high school.
Okay, so for anyone watching who doesn't kind of understand Australian geography,
throw the map up on the screen. Throw the map up.
Toowoomba, I always kind of thought was, in Toowoomba, you're a little bit out in the sticks, obviously not exactly, but you're not on the coast where most people in Australia kind of live. Alice Springs takes that to a whole new level. Jack grew up pretty much in the outback.
It's the most central town in Australia.
Yeah.
How many people live there?
Not many. I don't know.
Less than 1,000?
Probably
none now. Jack's gone.
Yeah, 20,000, and most of them. I'm not going to say that.
I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
No, but it's a very small town. So yeah, it was a grim upbringing, but it got a bit better once we moved to Queensland. So
you're one of the great success stories to come out of Alice Springs.
You ran.
I don't know how many there are, mate. I don't know how many there are.
Yeah, first time for everything, I guess. No, that's great though. But yeah, touching back on the conference thing. Obviously we grew up. Well, when you're in Toowoomba, you're about an hour and a half from where I was in Brisbane. We both come over to. I don't know how many conferences there are in America in D1, but there's quite a few. We both end up at, I guess, mid-major kind of programs, nothing huge, but a little bit of history at both Drake and Illinois State. And we end up getting to race each other plenty of times at conference meets. And honestly, before I came, like you were saying, you would have been absolute class of the conference, pretty comfortable winning a lot of things, and then another Australian comes in and it adds to it, I guess. So
yeah, no, it was you had my measure more than I had yours, that's for sure, but it was always good fun.
You're the pro.
I think we can all look back and say that since we've gone and since you've left, we've made the conference significantly better than it was before we got
definitely. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it stung a little bit to see you guys on my home turf just doing 12s and stuff. I was like, oh my gosh. I thought the lads had a chance that day, but you boys just that was really impressive. To win, I don't know, what was the gap? 30 seconds plus.
Back to
and then
our
was
teammate. Yeah.
More of your guys. So that was really impressive. And I'm sure you guys will go to a new level indoors.
Yeah. No, good stuff. I think we've probably covered most stuff. I guess the only other thing would be kind of after indoor, obviously moving on to outdoor. You've run a 7:55 3K now. You're trying to run under 7:50 to probably get the world standard in maybe that and the 1500 as well. If you can run a 7:50 3K, you can probably run a pretty handy 5K. What's kind of going to be the aim going into outdoor? Are you going to be 15.5, just 15, maybe just 5?
Oh, the dreaded question.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
What's your thoughts on that?
I'll make sure my coach doesn't hear that. But no, I think that for right now, the 1500, I still have a lot of developing to do. So I think that is probably where I'll spend this calendar year focusing on. But at the same time, a part of the reason I think this is a really good setup for me is and I think you guys will probably agree, is I'm definitely coming from more of a speed background. And I think I guess being aerobically strong is probably the one thing that is my weakness. And so I think coming up to flag and living at 7,000 feet, training at 7,000 feet, I think that's almost the way I see it, the missing piece of the puzzle. And so, because I'm really confident in my speed and I've been getting incrementally stronger each year that goes by. And I think that living up here and training at 7,000 feet, will hopefully just give me the strength I need to be competitive in those longer events. the 5K is just so like uncharted waters for me. Like I just don't know. Like it seems possible. It seems like I could run quick, and then other days I see people run like under 13:10, and I'm just like, there's just no way. It seems like when you guys can attest to this. It seems like when you're like under 340, it seems like you're so much closer to being like elite at like the 1500. Whereas like in the 5K, like you can run 13:40 and be not even in the conversation to being remotely like good. Like, you know, you've got to be a lot better. So I think at this point I'm a lot closer to 15. So
yeah, it's like cross country as well. I think you always get found out if you're not like in a 1500. If you have a great day and someone who's clearly meant to be better than you doesn't have a great day, you can get lucky and you can beat them. In a 5K, a 10K cross country, generally the fitter you are, like generally the best man wins. So
you can't fake it. You can't fake it.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you're under 340 for the 1500, you really are so close. You're knocking right on the door of being in the conversation of being world class, essentially. Whereas if you run a 13:45K, you can run a very quick 5K, but if it's quick at a big meet, you're not going to be anywhere near the front.
Yeah, it's almost like when you're at nationals in the 1500, there's 15, 20 guys, 24 guys really that can all run 339 to like 336, and they're all just like in that range. But when you're in the 5K, you have like 3 guys that are 13:20, and the rest of the field's at 13:40, and you're like, well, no matter how good I run, I'm not going to beat these people that are running 13:20.
Exactly.
So it's just
exactly.
Nah. All right. One final thing I wanted to ask: if you could recommend to anyone from a hobby jogger to the next professional runner, your favorite easy day jogging shoe. What's been now you've moved to Under Armour. Honestly, I don't know the brand too well. We're obviously not an Under Armour school here at Drake. What's kind of your favorite easy day jogging shoe that, you know, your hobby jogger, your couple of times a week runner could get into, probably love, feel good running in, and maybe get rolling in a little bit if they had to.
Okay. I've just picked up this puppy. This is actually, I've been running sessions in this. Okay, well, so we have these like, I'm not sure how much I should say. We have these new flats that are very, very good. People have been wearing them this fall on the roads and doing super well. I think Winnie Collegiate, she ran like, it's called Manchester Road Race. It's like a weird distance, like 4.7 miles. She ran these flats. In these flats, she ran like through 5K, like 14:55 or something, like just absolutely rolling.
Wow.
Like probably she would have scalped me for sure. Anyway, so everyone's been running in those for workouts. And they just don't have my size for whatever reason. So I've been running like legitimately like almost 100% of my mileage in these.
Wow.
They're called so the way Under Armour works is, they have like a bunch of different foams. So they have a foam called like Hover, like HOVR, which is like basically they put all that foam on like their easy running shoes. And then they have what's called a flow foam, which they put on their flats and stuff. So there's their 2 foams. But this one's called the Hover Infinite, and this shoe is like honestly like one of my favorite shoes ever. It is, if I had to compare it to like any other shoe, it's kind of like a Nike Structure or a Nike Peg. Like it's pretty like stable. It's actually got like a decent stack height, which is like kind of weird, but I'm really into it. It's definitely, it's got good looks to it. It does. Yeah.
I was going to say, probably get away.
Yeah. I've done like 6 mile tempos, Alex hills, long runs in this. Like it's super versatile. I love it. So,
on that
Hover Infinite.
Yeah.
Get it
Hover Infinite.
Hover Infinite.
I'll keep it in mind.
Everyone knows the best men wear pink as well. So.
Yeah. No, it does actually look pretty good, honestly.
Pretty sweet. Yeah. I'm a fan.
Probably get away with wearing that casually as well, to be honest. Add it to your shoe collection, Basten. This guy's a shoe collector, big fan of
You're a shoe collector?
Yeah. But honestly, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah.
You got anything to add, Basten?
No, not really.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Who are you training with out there? Like, who are your teammates?
We just like signed like a bunch of people. So I'm living with Casey, and training with him. He just ran 13:24. He's a 3:38 guy, 3:58 in the mile. So I'm training with him. He's pretty fit right now. Who else am I training with? Diego Zarate. Do you know who that is?
Oh, we do.
I have a picture with him.
Like a fanboy picture?
No,
he's really funny.
Like
he's
a
really
racing
funny.
picture. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a great athlete. So, like, honestly, probably one of the most talented guys like I've ever seen. Like he can just turn it on whenever he wants. And so I've been training with him. And then who else? Fitz, there's like a Virginia Tech pipeline here. I don't know what's going on, but like, yeah, we have, he's a steeplechaser. He's ran like 8:28, went to the Olympic trials this year. Been doing a lot of work with him. And then Brandon Doherty, he's like also an 8:28 guy in the steeple, 8:29 maybe. He's ran 7:47 and 3K. So there's always people to train with, always people to get dragged by. So it's good seeing.
Yeah. Unreal.
I can relate to the steeple thing. Just wanted to add that quick. Done it in practice a few times. Excellent hurdler.
He thought he was going to have to become a steepler last year, but then he ran 3:43 at Drake Relays, and that all took a turn for the worse.
I took some bad falls in practice. And
his steeple career ended before it began.
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever do it, man. I don't think I could ever do it.
I ran a couple back in Australia, actually. Right. We won't keep you too long. Plug your Instagram before we go, and your Strava. You're on Strava. Most things go on there.
Everything goes on there. Yeah.
Perfect. Strava. Instagram is Jack Anstey.
Instagram is hang on. Instagram, I think it's Jack Anstey, just all lowercase. Yeah, Jack Anstey, just all lowercase. Anstey.
Perfect.
Nice.
Give him a follow.
And then
Strava
is just Jack Anstey.
Perfect. Cool. Sweet. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to speak to us. I know you're pretty busy right now with everything that's going on. Congratulations again on signing for Under Armour, and all the best going forward.
Appreciate you having me, boys. Good luck tomorrow, mate.
Yeah, thank you. Good luck this season. We'll be looking at the results for sure.
Brilliant.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, boys.
No problem. Thank you, Jack.